your desktop, tablet, iPhone, or smartphone when you want it 24 hours a day. Just go to DeWittDailyNews.com. If you want to listen to live WHOW programming, just click the Listen Live icon. And if you want to hear one of your favorite WHOW programs when you want to, just click on the Audio On Demand icon. WHOW programming is there when you want it. Just another service from the big 1520 AM and 92.3 FM WHOW.
News time is 11 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast. Brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Multiple sources are reporting that R.R. Donnelly in Clinton is closing its doors. June 1st, the longtime employer of hundreds of Clinton employees will close its doors. The company began its operations in Clinton in the mid-1950s and has been a major employer in DeWitt County ever since. According to its website, its Clinton location is a direct marketing facility that primarily produces acquisition and fundraising mail pieces for nonprofit organizations. The 225,000 square foot facility specializes in traditional envelope packages with inline finishing for letter mail, automated flats, super component mail, and specialty mailers. Clinton is a full-service web printer for variably inkjet imaged components. High-end color products are developed using the plant's best-in-class equipment and design capabilities for diverse formats. Regional Radio's attempts to reach the company for comment have been unsuccessful. DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker says his patrol staff is currently at capacity, but he remains in need of corrections officers. On the WHOW Morning Show Monday, the sheriff told Regional Radio the staffing situation, particularly for his patrol personnel, is getting better. Right now, they have everyone out of the academy and on the streets of DeWitt County.
Yes, it's getting better. We're full staff on the patrol side, so deputies were full staff, fortunately. Corrections is where we struggle, along with every other jail in the state, I believe. Currently, we are 2 correctional officers short. I'm going to be a 3rd correctional officer short here in about 3 weeks when we got one that is expanding his horizons and is going to be a city police officer for the city of Clinton. So happy for him that he's able to make that move and better himself and his family and that type of thing.
According to Sheriff Walker, they have adjusted their requirements for a corrections officer in an attempt to try to reach a bigger pool of potential applicants. He touts the position's starting salary as well as its pathway to advancement in law enforcement.
Probably about a year ago now, it used to be a correctional officer, you had to be 21 years old. Some surrounding counties, Logan and McLean County, had lowered that to 18. Talked to Sheriff Landers over in Logan and Sheriff Lane up in McLean County, and they've had nothing but good luck with the younger people that they've hired, so we lowered our age requirement to 18. Fortunately, even though you're not allowed to purchase or possess a handgun until you're 21 in Illinois, once you go through the training, through the basic correctional officer training, even at 18 you are allowed to carry a firearm for your job at work. You can't carry it to and from, which we supply the firearms for corrections. So that's helped. We got one kid that applied, and we hired him when he's 19. He might be 20 now. So I'll reached out to some of the local high schools and let them know, hey, if you got some kids that aren't necessarily interested in college or might be interested in a career in law enforcement or something along those lines, let them know this is an option. College isn't for everybody. It's a great career step for law enforcement. We've hired a lot of people out of corrections. This officer's leaving next month. He's going to the Clinton Police Department. So, there's all kinds of opportunities there. And if you live in Clinton or DeWitt County, you take out the commute. It's not a bad paying job. Starts out about $46,000, and then in December that'll go up by 5%. So not a bad paying job for a young person. Then you figure you get to the overtime and holidays. You're looking at probably over $50,000 a year.
Sheriff Walker explains the corrections officer job has evolved, but it essentially boils down to security at the courthouse and working with inmates in the jail. He believes it's a good introduction for that individual who would like to work the streets in a law enforcement agency.
Safety and security of the jail. The correctional officer's main duties is to oversee the inmate movement, make sure the inmates are taken care of for their needs, whether it's medical or whatever they need to do, we take care of. Transports from, if we get an inmate or somebody that's arrested in another county on our warrant, we're going to extradite them, have to transport them to and from, take them back and forth to court. It's just not like the old days where, you may have heard the old term turnkey, or just turn the key. No, it's a lot of responsibilities. We gotta make tours every 30 minutes. We got a piece of equipment that we go around. We record those tours. We have to give those reports to the state. We get inspected every year. Say it's safe. You're working in a controlled environment. Anything happens if you're there by yourself, and say two inmates start fighting or something along that line, we call for assistance, and the deputies come back. If the deputies are out and away from the jail, the city officers come back. So I would say it's relatively safe because, like I said, it is in a controlled environment. And one of the good things about it, I think it helps people who have an interest in law enforcement be a patrol officer, is you get that opportunity to learn to deal with people and talk with people in a controlled environment. So you learn how they tick, and talk to this type of person this way, this type of person that way, and it helps you in the long run out on the road.
Sheriff Walker has been contacting local schools to inform them of the opportunity for students looking to enter the workforce. He's also used the timing of the closure of R.R. Donnelly to appeal to anyone looking for new opportunities. Find more information on all things employment within the sheriff's office at DeWittSheriff.com. A history of the railroad in the U.S. will be the theme of a special event at the DeWitt County Museum this Sunday. Joey Long is the director of the C.H. Moore Homestead and DeWitt County Museum. She indicates Mike Mateka is a renowned, insightful presenter and brings to life the captivating narrative of what's coming down the line, the railroad in the American mind.
On Sunday, April 14th at 2 p.m., we have a special presentation taking place at the museum. It's called What's Coming Down the Line, the Railroad in the American Mind. And that presentation will be made by a gentleman by the name of Mike Mateka, and he has spent countless decades researching his passion, which would be railroad history. And we're really looking forward to inviting him in and hearing what he has to tell us about the railroad, the history of the railroad, what role that played and how America became the America that we are.
According to Long, the railroad meant a great deal to Clinton and DeWitt County for generations, and feels this is a good opportunity to see one of the permanent railroad exhibits in the barn of the museum.
It's just a special presentation. The museum does have a permanent railroad exhibit in one of the 3 large metal barns that we have down at the bottom of the hill. So that is always on display with, just all kinds of railroad things, just gobs of things. I won't even go into all that. But so anyone that hasn't had an opportunity to take a look at that, this would be a great thing, to come and hear the story of the railroad. And then while you're at the museum, go ahead and take the tour and take a look at all the things we have on display that pertains to the railroad.
In the museum's display, Long highlights some of the artifacts at the museum for its display, including an unloading contraption that a pair of men from DeWitt County came up with, but unfortunately it never caught traction in the industry.
What comes to my mind immediately is we have a lot of old railroad signage down there. We have a bell off of an old engine, and those bells are numbered, so you know what bell it is, what train it was used on. It's kind of like a way to be able to track the history of the bell. Years ago, some friend of mine sent me an article that was in a Railroader magazine, and it actually had a photograph of the bell that we have on display down there at the museum. So that was kind of interesting. There's one thing is a model of an invention that a couple of men from DeWitt County came up with. It was a better way to load and or unload a boxcar. So they patented this invention of theirs. I had great hopes for it, but unfortunately, I don't know how this happened, but it failed. It didn't catch on because most boxcars, the opening is on the long side, not the short end. And this invention required the boxcars to have the openings on the end. So that's definitely a very unique thing that we have down there.
The event, again, is free. It's on Sunday at 2 o'clock in the Carriage Barn. Long indicates they'll have refreshments and juice and coffee. She hopes you'll join the museum for this program this weekend. News time, 20 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Tuesday. We'll have plenty more coming your way next on The Morning Show.
Spring is in the air, so it's time to choose your new Silverado. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. We have a good selection of new Silverados with springtime savings and special finance rates. Choose from regular cabs, double cabs, or crew cabs in gas or diesel. We are also allowing extra money for your trade on all new Silverados this month. See our springtime Silverado inventory at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
News time is 21 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Tuesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. As the aviation industry seeks low-carbon fuels, attention has come to making biofuels into jet fuel. It's called sustainable aviation fuel, and it can be made from corn and soybeans. Governor J.B. Pritzker says a recently passed tax credit is designed to incentivize the use of it at the state's airports.
We are also helping to build the market, incentivizing the adoption of SAF. Last year, my partners in the General Assembly, and I really mean that, we've been partnered in this endeavor to build this industry, but my partners in the General Assembly and I passed a new $1.50 per gallon tax credit to support the use of SAF. We're also incentivizing investment in SAF production.
SAF is short for Sustainable Aviation Fuel. O'Hare in Chicago sees 55 million passengers move through the airport each year, and Illinois has 2 of the nation's top 15 airports for freight transportation. The State Ag Pest Survey Coordinator is looking for more volunteers to monitor black cutworm and armyworm this spring.
Yeah, we're with some very specific areas. We can use some more additional cooperators in southern Illinois, as well as the northern third of the state. And so we have traps that went out last week and are getting put out this week, monitoring for black cutworm and armyworm that will stay up through the end of May, mostly monitoring those numbers as those moths migrate into the state from the south. We like to get as many different counties as we can. And of course, we have some overlap within counties, and I definitely don't mind sharing our resources to people who are interested in finding out what's going on at the farm level. But if we can disperse traps throughout different regions of the state, we can create general alerts on what's going on in those areas. So southern Illinois is important quite a bit, as you will see numbers or fines there first as they migrate from the south. But also, if we can get more traps in those areas, the better coverage allows for just a little bit more specific timing, potential cutting, thus maybe potential rescue treatments or things like that. So just more information is always good.
If interested in helping out, reach out to Kelly Estes at kcook8 at illinois.edu. That's kcook, COOK, the number 8, at illinois.edu. Tracking black vultures in Illinois, and livestock producers through the state are keeping a watchful eye. Brad Wilson is a wildlife biologist with the USDA APHIS Wildlife Service.
Yeah, when it comes to the sub permit, so back in 2022, the Illinois Farm Bureau, they applied for and were issued a migratory bird depredation permit from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And this was kind of a blanket permit for the entire state. And when they applied for this permit, so they paid the fees to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And with that permit, they're able to issue what's called sub permits, free of charge to producers in the state that are affected by black vultures that are depredating their livestock. But this authorization is provided by the Illinois Farm Bureau at no cost to livestock producers. And in 2022, in the first year of the program, the Illinois Farm Bureau issued 15 sub-permits among nine counties in southern Illinois. And then this past year, in 2023, they issued 8 sub-permits among 7 different counties. And then more recently, so far this year, we've issued 4 sub-permits, although I did have 2 calls this week that we're working on sub-permits. And currently, we're getting a lot of calls from Marion County. I believe 3 out of the last 5 calls have been in Marion County for whatever reason.
More information on the black vulture depredation permits is available through ilfb.org under the Farmers and Rural Resources section. Researchers say there are many problems associated with spending too much screen time. Gary Crawford has this report.
How much time do you think you spend looking at screens every day, including phones, TVs, computers, tablets, car backup cameras, you name it? How much time? And how much time do your sons and daughters spend? Well, some studies suggest the average American adult spends 7 hours a day in front of a screen, not counting work time. And for kids age 8 through 18, it's 7.5 hours. And here's the ironic part.
The recommendation for adults, for teens and adults, is only 2 hours per day.
Oh, whoa, two hours? Are you kidding me?
No, I know. I'm guilty as well.
Guilty. Yes, pronouncing himself guilty is Kansas State University child development specialist Bradford Wiles. He says too much screen time for young children often causes those kids to develop behavioral problems later on, problems getting along with others, including their parents and siblings. And as teens and preteens,
there are significant negative effects of screen time around anxiety, depression, attention, academic achievement. And then, of course, there are some confounding factors there in that we also know that social media is just really, really bad, particularly for girls and in adults too. It can, puts everybody at risk for obesity. It can affect your relationships. It can affect your sleep cycles.
And screen time seems to act almost like a drug. You want more and more, and you can't stop watching. You can't put the phone down for long before looking again. And trying to limit screen time, that can be very difficult.
It's a real challenge. And by the way, it's a real challenge for me. I mean, particularly right now, March Madness is on, so I really want to see the games and, check the scores and at the end of the day, that's just, again, telling my kids that what's going on in NCAA basketball is more important than them. And that's never the thing I want to convey.
But Bradford Wiles says we parents are role models for young children. And if we are constantly on our phones, not paying attention to the children or engaging with them,
you are tacitly telling them that what is on the screen is more important than what they are doing.
So Bradford Wiles says from all of this, we probably realize now that, if we didn't already, that it might be a good idea to start trying to cut down screen time. And that's not going to be easy to do.
It's a constant battle. It's something that adults really have to focus on.
And next time we'll do that, we'll get some tips on how to reduce that time spent staring at that screen. Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Time now for a look at today's obituaries. 96-year-old Richard Dick Dale Baum of Clinton passed away Thursday, April 4th at Sugar Creek in Normal. Services for 96-year-old Dick Baum will be at 11 a.m. Wednesday at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton with Pastor Mark Cooper and Ernie Harvey Jr. officiating. Burial will be at 10 a.m. Thursday at East Lawn Cemetery in Bloomington. The visitation will be from 9 to 11 on Wednesday at the funeral home. Given Dick's love of people and service, donations can be made to Little Galilee Christian Camp in Clinton or Camp Friedenswald in Michigan. News time, 29 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday. Coverage of news brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, and we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
House this evening ahead of tomorrow's official visit and Woodsy State dinner. Among agenda items for the Prime Minister's visit, closer military ties between the U.S. and Japan. Plans beginning to take shape for the Republican Party's National Convention will take place this summer in Milwaukee. The parents of Michigan school gunman Ethan Crumley are to be sentenced today. James and Jennifer Crumley have been convicted of involuntary manslaughter. The 2021 shooting at Oxford High School killed 4 students. Barring a successful Supreme Court appeal, Missouri will execute Brian Dorsey tonight. He killed a cousin and her husband nearly 2 decades ago. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are up 43 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 67. The S&P futures 13 points higher. More details at srnnews.com.
With SRN Sports, I'm Jeremy House. In the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship Final, UConn's defense shuts down Purdue's offense to grab its second straight title.
UConn shut down Purdue's potent outside game on their way to a 75-60 win over the Boilermakers. Purdue hit just 1 3-pointer, attempted 7, and they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Purdue coach Matt Painter says UConn just comes at teams with waves of defense.
Played against some really good defensive guys this year and in the tournament, but not the collection of defensive players like UConn has.
The Boilers' 7'4" center Zach Edey drew one-on-one coverage most of the night, finished with a game-high 37 points. He saw his collegiate career come to a close. Chuck Freeman, Glendale, Arizona.
Major League Baseball and the National League winners included Cincinnati, the New York Mets, Philadelphia, Colorado, Washington, and San Diego. In the American League, winners were Cleveland and Toronto. This is SRN Sports. Sticking with baseball, other American League winners were Houston and the LA Angels. Interleague play winners included the New York Yankees, Pittsburgh, and the LA Dodgers. In the NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins fall short of grabbing sole possession of the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference.
Jake McCabe scored 90 seconds into overtime to send the Maple Leafs past the Penguins 3-2. Austin Matthews notched his league-high 65th goal to put Toronto ahead 2-1 in the third, and he assisted on the game winner. Drew O'Connor tied it for Pittsburgh with 6:22 left in regulation. The outcome puts the Pens in a virtual tie with the Red Wings for the second wild card in the East, at 1 point behind the third-place Islanders in the Metropolitan Division. The Leafs are within 3 points of Florida for second place in the Atlantic Division, with Toronto having a game in hand. I'm Dave Ferry.
And in the only other NHL game last night, it was Vancouver edging Vegas 4-3. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. Jack Manning's single in the bottom of the 7th inning sent Clinton home with a 3-2 non-conference come-from-behind win over GCMS. In boys baseball action Monday in Clinton, the Falcons had a 2-0 lead heading to the last of the 7th. Brooks Kluver homered to bring Clinton within 2-1. Brock Wilson brought home Noah Bass to tie the game with a base hit. Then Manning's base hit scored Preston Curtis with the winning run. Wilson went 4 innings of 2-run ball for the Maroons. He walked 3 and struck out 4 while allowing 3 hits. Manning worked around 3 walks in a scoreless inning of relief, and Curtis closed it out with 2 innings of scoreless relief to pick up the win. Clinton goes to 9-3 overall. They'll travel to Warrensburg-Latham this afternoon for a Central Illinois Conference tilt. In a game heard on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, Carter Foran was brilliant on the mound for Monticello, providing a huge lift at the start of a busy week, leading the Sages to a 10-0 6-inning run rule win over Champaign St. Thomas More in Illini Prairie Conference high school baseball action from the Wilkie Complex in Monticello. Foran went 6 innings and faced just 1 over the minimum, permitting a base hit in the 4th inning. The junior struck out 5 while sitting down the first 10 batters he faced in the final 8 after a 1-out hit in the 4th inning by Wilson Kirby. Luke Teschke ripped a 2-run double in the Sages' half of the 1st inning to get the scoring started. Eli Kraft blasted a 2-run home run in the 4th inning to put Monticello up 6-0. STM pitching walked 7 batters, and its defense committed 4 errors. Monticello took advantage. Foran added an RBI groundout in the second inning and singled in a run in the third. Ike Young brought home 2 with a base hit in the bottom of the 6th inning that ended the game on the 10-run rule. Teschke finished 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and 2 stolen bases. Foreign was the serve pro of Piatt DeWitt County's player of the game. Monticello remains undefeated, moving to 16-0 overall and 3-0 in the Illini Prairie Conference. They host Mattoon on Tuesday, with games ahead still this week with Tolono Unity and 2 with Williamsville on Saturday. Riley Hendren doubled twice and drove in 2. Anthony Gura drove in 3 runs as Normal Community used a fast start to get by Champaign Central 9-1 in Big 12 high school baseball Monday in Champaign. Hendren was 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored in addition to his 2 RBIs. Gura finished 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored. And Caleb Hackman drove in 2, finishing 2 for 3 on the afternoon. Ethan Eberle went 4 innings of shutout ball for Normal. The Louisville commit struck out 8, walked 1, and permitted 3 hits. Kyle Beatty struck out 3 in 2 innings of 1-run relief. Brady Burkhart closed out the win with a scoreless inning. The Ironmen are 13-0 on the season and 3-0 in the Big 12. They will host Champaign Centennial for the first of 2 matchups with them in Big 12 play this week. Normal West used a fast start, building an early lead to get by Bloomington 12-3 in Big 12 high school baseball action from Normal West High School Monday. The Wildcats put up 3 runs apiece in the first and second innings and quickly led 9-2 after 4, then added 3 more runs in the 6th. 5 Bloomington errors limited Normal West to 7 hits and 5 RBIs. Taylor Hafferman drove in 2, while Brady Whitehead, Sam Descarpentry, and Ryder Kuhn drove in runs. Blake Crancer scored 4 times. Trent Durham crossed the plate twice. Since starting the season 0-4, the Wildcats have won 8 of its last 9 to go to 9-5 overall. They take on Champaign Central Wednesday and Friday this week in more Big 12 play. In a game heard here on WHOW, Jose Ramirez hit a 2-run homer, his 100th at Progressive Field, and the Cleveland Guardians followed the total solar eclipse by winning first-year manager Stephen Vogt's home debut 4-0 over the White Sox on Monday. Tristan McKenzie went 5 2/3 for Cleveland, off to a surprising start and its best since 2011. The right-hander combined with 4 relievers on a 4-hitter while Clace worked the 9th. The White Sox dropped their 5th straight to fall to 1-9 and were shut out for the 4th time and have scored a baseball-low 16 runs, their fewest in 10 games since 1968. They were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, leaving them with a .091 average in those situations. Chicago wasn't much better in the field, committing 3 errors, and 2 were committed by third baseman Yoan Moncada. Sox right-hander Michael Soroka starts the second game of the series against Cleveland against left-hander Logan Allen. Here tonight's action on WHOW starting at 4:30 with the pregame and first pitch at 5:10. Alec Baum had an RBI double in the 10th inning, and the Philadelphia Phillies beat the St. Louis Cardinals 5-3 Monday night. Baum's hit off Ryan Helsley drove in automatic runner Christian Patchy, and Bryson Stott followed with a sac fly for the insurance run as the Phillies won for the 3rd time in their last 4 games. Gregory Soto got the last 3 outs for his first save. The Cardinals rallied for 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th off Jeff Hoffman to tie it. Jordan Walker drove in the first 2 with a sac fly. Mason Wynn's 2-out single tied it at 3. The rally spoiled the second straight scoreless start for Phillies starter Spencer Turnbull, who allowed just 2 hits in 6 innings and struck out 6. Cardinals starter Miles Michaelis allowed 2 runs and 6 hits in 6 2/3 innings. Ivan Herrera greeted reliever Seranthony Dominguez with a home run to lead off the 7th and pulled the Cardinals within 1. His second of the season grazed the top of Brandon Marsh's glove before clearing the left field wall. Marsh hit a solo homer off Yovani Gallegos in the 9th to give the Phillies a 3-1 lead. Sonny Gray makes his first start of the season for the Cardinals opposite Zach Wheeler for the Phillies Tuesday night. Gray is working his way back from a right hamstring strain suffered in spring training, while Wheeler is 4-2 with a 2.44 ERA in 7 starts against St. Louis. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a go-ahead 2-run home run with 2 outs in the 8th inning, 2 innings after the Padres scored 7 runs, and San Diego stormed back to stun the Cubs 9-8 Monday night. Wandy Peralta got the win. Robert Suarez the save, his 4th. Cubs right-hander Javier Assad, who grew up across the border in Tijuana, took a 2-hit shutout and 8-0 lead into the 6th inning before the Padres pulled within a run in the 6th. That was highlighted by 2-run home runs from Jake Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts. The Padres had 5 hits, a walk, and an error that inning. Assad allowed a leadoff walk to Tatis before being chased by Cronenworth's 2-run homer to right. His first, Jose Cuas came on, and the next 3 Padres batters reached, starting with Manny Machado on an error by shortstop Dansby Swanson that made 3 of the runs unearned. Hae-Sung Kim hit a 2-run triple, and Luis Campusano an RBI grounder. Bogaerts capped the scoring with a 2-run shot off Luke Little, his first. Tatis flied out to right to end the inning. Assad allowed 2 runs and 3 hits. He struck out 7 with 3 walks. Yu Darvish, who pitched for the Cubs from 2018 to 2020, threw 42 pitches in the 2nd inning when the Cubs scored 4 runs on 3 hits with 2 walks and hit a batter. Darvish twice loaded the bases, and Ian Happ and Bellinger each hit 2-run singles. Darvish got through a quick 3rd inning but was done for the night after following 4 runs and 4 hits while striking out 4 and walking 3. It was just the 10th time in 281 career starts, including the postseason, that Darvish went 3 or fewer innings. The Cubs then jumped on Pedro Avila for 4 more runs in the 4th. After the Cubs loaded the bases with 1 out, Bellinger hit a sac fly, Christopher Morel hit an RBI double, and Swanson tripled in 2 more. The Cubs haven't named a starter for tonight's game, while the Padres will send Joe Musgrove to the mound. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Partly cloudy skies today with daytime highs approaching 68. West winds